What if I told you that the way you've been studying your entire life is wrong? Not a little wrong. Fundamentally, deeply, completely wrong. Most students sit down, read their notes, maybe highlight a few things, and call it a night. And then they're shocked when the exam doesn't go well. But the students at Harvard, they do something different. And today, I'm going to show you exactly what that is. Stay until the end, because technique number 4 is the one almost nobody talks about, and it changed everything for me. Welcome back to Wisdom of the Stoics, where ancient philosophy meets modern performance. The Stoics believed that the mind is our greatest asset. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." And if Marcus Aurelius were alive today, I truly believe he'd be training his mind the way Harvard students do. Let's get into it. 1. Active recall. Stop rereading. Start retrieving. Here's a brutal truth. Rereading your notes is one of the least effective study methods ever documented. Harvard cognitive scientist Dr. Henry Roediger III found that students who tested themselves on material retained up to 50% more information than those who simply reread it. They called it the testing effect. So what does active recall look like in practice? Close your notes. Grab a blank piece of paper and write down everything you remember about the topic, from scratch. No peeking. It feels uncomfortable. It feels hard. But that discomfort? That's your brain actually building the neural pathways that make knowledge stick. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus put it perfectly. It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. Stop pretending you know the material. Test yourself. Prove it. 2. Spaced repetition. Work with your brain's forgetting curve. In the 1880s, German psychologist Hermann Ebbinghaus discovered something alarming. Within 24 hours of learning something, you forget up to 70% of it. Harvard students fight this with a technique called spaced repetition, reviewing material at precisely timed intervals to lock it into long-term memory. Here's the simple version of the schedule. Day 1, learn the material. Day 2, review it briefly. Day 7, review again. Day 30, one final review. Apps like Anki are built entirely around this principle, and they are used by medical students, law students, and yes, students at Harvard, because the science is undeniable. Think of it like training a muscle. You don't build strength from one epic gym session. You build it through consistent, repeated effort over time. The mind is no different. 3. The Feynman Technique. If you can't explain it simply, you don't know it. Nobel Prize-winning physicist Richard Feynman had a deceptively simple rule. If you can't explain something to a child, you don't actually understand it. And Harvard students use this 4-step process religiously. Step 1, pick a concept you're studying. Step 2, explain it out loud as if you're teaching a 12-year-old. No jargon, plain language only. Step 3, when you get stuck, and you will get stuck, go back to your notes. That gap is exactly what you need to fix. Step 4, simplify your explanation, even further until a child could genuinely follow it. The difference between a student who gets a B and a student who gets an A is almost never raw intelligence, it's depth of understanding. Marcus Aurelius wrote extensively in his journal, not because he needed to, but because writing and explaining ideas to himself forced him to truly think. That's the Feynman technique in its purest Stoic form. First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Epictetus, interleaved practice, stop studying one thing at a time. Most students study in what's called blocks. They do 2 hours of math, then 2 hours of history, then 2 hours of biology. It feels organized. It feels productive. But research from UCLA and Stanford shows that mixing or interleaving subjects, switching between them within a single study session, produces dramatically better long-term retention. Why? Because when you constantly switch, your brain can't coast on autopilot. It has to work harder to recognize which type of problem it's looking at and which strategy to apply. A practical version looks like this. Study math for 25 minutes. Switch to history for 25 minutes. Back to math for 25 minutes. The variation keeps your brain engaged and forces deeper processing. This is deeply Stoic in nature. The Stoics practiced something called negative visualization, deliberately, imagining discomfort to build resilience. Interleaved practice is the intellectual version of that. You embrace the difficulty. You seek the friction, because the friction is the point. Ease is the enemy of growth. Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body. Seneca. Let's bring it all together. The 4 study techniques that Harvard students use. 1. Active recall. Close the book and retrieve from memory. 2. Spaced repetition. Review at strategic intervals to beat the forgetting curve. 3. The Feynman Technique. Teach it simply. If you can't, you don't know it yet. 4. Interleaved practice. Mix your subjects. Embrace the difficulty. None of these require more time. They require better thinking. And that is the most Stoic thing I can say to you. If this video